Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for being here today. First question, Ms. Dillon. Are Americans who donate to nonprofit organizations receiving the protection they deserve under the law today?
Well, I think a lot of donors are deterred from making donations when they look at the Lois Lerner example. And indeed, even though protections for donor privacy date back to NAACP era and concerns by African Americans of hounding by their government, today it is donors across the board, but mostly conservatives, who are concerned that if they express their political speech through contributions to nonprofits that are disfavored by the government in power or state actors, what have you, they will be punished for their speech through audits, investigations, harassment, et cetera. And the last couple of decades in our country have provided many examples of that.
Well, I appreciate that, and it's interesting you brought up Lois Lerner. I think we're in about a decade now, 10 years since that was made public. And with that in mind, besides government intimidation, isn't there a real possibility that donor lists that feature the names, addresses, and sometimes contribution amounts might be leaked to the public?
Not only is there a possibility, we've seen this happen, and with the acceleration of mob-type behavior through social media, it can put donors at real risk when their privacy is not respected, and this should not be the case when donors are contributing to legitimate nonprofit ends. And so I think it is critical, and I say this as the CEO of a nonprofit, to encourage and protect core First Amendment speech through contributions to nonprofits, that donor privacy be respected.
Especially in this woke culture that we find ourselves, or cancel culture, I should say, where retribution has been and is taken on to people because of their political beliefs, their religious beliefs, their thoughts. That is totally outside of the scope of American ideas and principles, is that you do have a right, not only to free speech, but right to thoughts and beliefs. Our government and our laws are set up to punish bad behavior, not thought. And in an instance like the leak that you've described, that causes hundreds, if not thousands, of Americans to be harassed for the crime of giving money to groups that they agree with, is there not personal risk in that as well? I mean, we've seen incidents where people have lost their jobs because of something that they posted on social media.
Oh, absolutely. I'd say not only have people lost their jobs, they've lost job opportunities. They have been forced to retreat from their homes due to mob threats. This is a bipartisan problem, and so I think that everyone should have an interest in donor privacy for these reasons. And so cancel culture run amok, accelerated by social media and by the heavy hand of government acting in concert with social media, is a significant risk to First Amendment speech in the United States, both with respect to donations to nonprofits, as well as, I would say, simply people expressing their views, expressing their right to consume or participate in a free press, to gather together. Every aspect of the First Amendment is under threat through these types of issues that we're discussing here today.
And I've heard from constituents myself, they're afraid to get involved in politics, and this has just come about in the last 3 to 4 years, and especially donate because they're afraid that their name may be disclosed, even if they gave to an individual candidate. Not as much is what the government may do, but what others may do, and putting pressure on their employers. In fact, I know a firsthand account, a gentleman right now who has already lost a job because his identity was, in my opinion, illegally disclosed by the January 6th committee for doing nothing wrong, and he cannot get a job at this point. And so in this culture that we live in is to punish people who do not agree with you politically. That's really what it comes down to. And in your opinion, is the end goal of all this to ensure that these groups never receive funding again because of donor fear that their personal information might be disclosed to the public? Is that the end goal?
It is certainly a goal, and ironically, what we've seen in California, a liberal jurisdiction, is it actually has a very good law with respect to employment, which protects individuals from political retribution on the basis of their political viewpoints or associations. I think that that is a laudable statute that should actually be replicated in many other states. But at the end of the day, the use of the exposure of donor information poses a significant risk nationally to liberty and privacy.
And that information is used for intimidation.